Hello, parents and students. This lesson is going to focus on adding decimals. This is how I feel about adding decimals. While it is a little tricky at the beginning, once you do it a couple of times, it will become easier. So, our steps for adding decimals: first, you write down the decimals with the decimal points lined up. Your second step is going to be add zeros if need be so that the numbers have the same length. When you add decimals, they have to be the same length. And so the zeros are going to be the placeholders. And then step three is you're going to add. If I can do it, you can do it. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first example is going to be 52 and 36 hundredths plus 15 and 34 hundredths. So let me go to my next slide. I have the steps right here that we're going to go over. So first, the step one says to write down the decimals with the decimal points lined up. So let's go ahead and do 52. Sorry, this is going to unfortunately take a while. And 30 and 36 hundredths plus 15 Notice how I'm making sure that my decimals are lined up. So step one, it says write down the decimals with the decimal points lined up. For that example, I made sure that my decimals were already lined up. So step one is done. I do not need to add any zeros because all the numbers are the same length. This has 4 digits, this has 4 digits. So now I add. 6 plus 4 is 10. Put my 0 down here. Carry my 1 to the tenths place. So now I do 3 plus 3, which is 6, plus 1, which is 7. So I have that part so far. Don't forget to add your decimal point. And then now 2 plus 5 is 7. And then 5 plus 1 is 6. So when I add 52 and 36 hundredths plus 15 and 34 hundredths, I get 67 and 7 tenths. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one so we can do our second example. Erase all. So our second example is going to be 93 and 4 tenths plus 48 hundredths. So let me go back. 93 and 4 tenths plus 48 hundredths. 93, I'm sorry, y'all, this is so awful. 93 decimal and 4 tenths plus 48 hundredths. I'm going to go ahead and line up my decimals. So step one, write down the decimals with the decimal points lined up. Are my decimal points lined up? Yes, they are. So step two, add zeros if need be, so the numbers have the same length. My numbers do not have the same length. So here I'm going to put a 0. And then here I'm going to put a 0. And then here I'm also going to put a 0. For the left side of the decimal, so from the decimal point to the left, they do not have to put the zeros. Um, it makes it much easier. But if they don't want to, that's fine. But if they do want to, it's not going to hurt either. So let's start from here. 0 plus 8 is 8. 4 plus 4 is also 8. So the right side of my decimal is done. Don't forget your decimal point. And then 3 plus 0 is 3. And then 9 plus 0 is 9. So when I add 93 and 4 tenths plus 48 hundredths, I get 93 and 88 hundredths. This one might take a little bit of practice, but just don't forget these steps right here. The students should know these very well because I drilled it into their minds day in and day out for about 2 weeks. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me on my cell phone or email me. I hope you all have a good rest of the day.